You have just spent $140 million to buy a theme park. You now own 150 acres of land, 3 roller coasters, 9 smaller rides, a family area, 40 food and retail locations, a parking lot the size of a small town, and enough steel machinery to keep an engineering department awake every night of the year. The gates are still closed, but money is already leaving. The mechanics arrived before sunrise. Full-time managers are on salary. Insurance is active. Electricity is running. A coaster train is being inspected. A delivery truck is unloading food that may or may not be sold. Your marketing team is buying ads for a weekend whose weather forecast keeps changing. And the bank does not care whether it rains. Most people think the business starts when a guest buys a ticket. It actually starts months earlier when you commit millions of dollars to opening a park that has no guaranteed attendance. Now look at the opportunity. A successful regional park can attract more than 1 million visits in 1 year. Every person may pay for admission, parking, food, drinks, games, merchandise, photographs, and premium access. One family can enter through a gate and leave several $100s behind. That sounds like an extraordinary business. And it can be. In 2025, Six Flags reported more than 47 million visits and roughly $62 of spending per visit across its portfolio. United Parks and Resorts reported more than $78 of revenue per visit. But those same companies also show the trap. The rides never stop demanding capital. A large part of the cost base remains even when attendance falls. Weather can erase a peak weekend. A new attraction can cost more than $50 million. And a park can look crowded while producing far less free cash than its revenue suggests. So today, you are not visiting a theme park. You are buying one. We will decide exactly what kind of park we own, how much capital it needs, where every dollar comes from, where that dollar disappears, and what happens when the weather, the guests, or the machinery refuse to follow the plan. By the end, we will compare 2 choices: buying an existing regional park or building a new destination from nothing. One of those choices can be a difficult but rational investment. The other can turn hundreds of millions of dollars into empty roller coaster track. The economics of owning a theme park. If I ask you to imagine a theme park, you probably picture the largest roller coaster. As an owner, that is only one component in a much larger machine. The coaster is a reason to visit. It is a marketing image. It creates urgency. It separates your park from the smaller attractions around it. But the coaster is not the entire business. The business is the controlled movement of people through time and space. You persuade a family to choose your park instead of a movie, a sporting event, a short vacation, or a day at home. You get them through the entrance. You keep them on the property for 6, 8, or 10 hours. You spread them across rides, restaurants, shows, and retail locations. You reduce the amount of time they spend frustrated. And you give them a reason to return before the season ends. That means you are operating at least 5 businesses at once. You are an entertainment company, a food service operator, a retailer, a parking and transportation system, and a heavy industrial maintenance operation that happens to serve the public. The park can fail in any one of those layers. A great attraction with slow food lines lowers spending. A beautiful park with unreliable rides destroys trust. Strong demand with weak parking creates an angry guest before admission is scanned. Low ticket prices may fill the pathways but fail to cover the fixed cost of opening the park. High ticket prices may improve revenue per visitor while shrinking the number of visitors who buy food, bring friends, and renew passes. This is why the most useful number is not the advertised ticket price. It is realized revenue per visit. In 2025, Six Flags reported $33.41 of admissions revenue per visit and $28.49 of in-park product spending per visit. United Parks reported $41.73 of admissions revenue per visit and $36.81 of in-park spending. These are portfolio averages. They include different parks, different markets, and different guest mixes. They are not a promise that your independent regional park will achieve the same result. But they reveal the central structure. The amount spent after admission can approach the amount earned from admission itself. Your ticket gets the customer through the gate. Your operating system determines what the visit is worth. We need one specific asset. To make the economics concrete, we will build one illustrative park from public operator benchmarks. It is not a real property currently being marketed for sale. The purchase price, attendance, cost structure, and financing terms are model assumptions, not the disclosed finances of an unnamed park. We are not buying Disney World. We are not building a global intellectual property resort with multiple hotels. And we are not operating a traveling carnival. We are buying one established regional destination park in the American Midwest. The park sits on 150 owned acres near an interstate. It can draw day visitors from a large metro area and weekend visitors from several surrounding cities. It has 3 major roller coasters, 9 family and thrill rides, a children's area, live entertainment spaces, games, food, retail, and parking for approximately 4,500 cars. It does not include a hotel. It does not include a separately gated water park. It opens for approximately 140 days each year, with a heavy concentration in summer, weekends, and seasonal events. The existing owner has operated it for decades. The park already has a local identity, trained managers, a safety and maintenance history, vendor relationships, customer data, and a season pass base. That history is enormously valuable. A new park has to prove that people will change their behavior and travel to a destination that has never existed. An existing park already knows which zip codes buy passes, which weekends sell out, which rides drive attendance, which food locations become bottlenecks, and how the local weather changes the operating calendar. When you buy the park, you acquire 2 types of assets. The first type is visible: land, buildings, parking, rides, utility connections, warehouses, kitchens, and retail space. The second type is invisible: the right to operate, the season pass database, the employees who know the machinery, the event calendar, the local brand, and years of demand history. The invisible assets are often what make the acquisition safer than greenfield development, but they are also fragile. Lose the experienced mechanics, damage the local reputation, or cut capital spending for several seasons, and a functioning park can become a collection of aging equipment very quickly. Our illustrative seller wants $120 million for the business and the land. Is that realistic? There is no universal price for a regional park. Location, acreage, ride quality, deferred maintenance, profitability, licensing arrangements, and redevelopment potential can change the value dramatically. But recent transactions show that these assets do trade. On April 6, 2026, Six Flags completed the sale of 6 American parks under a transaction carrying an aggregate purchase price of $318,885,000. Dividing that price equally would be misleading because the properties differ substantially, but the transaction demonstrates that a portfolio of established regional parks can change hands for hundreds of millions of dollars. Our model park is positioned as one of the stronger individual assets. Owned land, more than 1 million annual visits, no major unresolved safety problem, and room to expand. So we assume a purchase price of $120 million. That is an editorial assumption, not a direct valuation derived from the Six Flags transaction. And the purchase price is not the amount required to take control safely. The previous owner delayed several projects before the sale. You need $5 million for ride controls, track work, roofs, kitchen equipment, and guest-facing repairs. You need another $5 million for a visible new family attraction and refreshed entrance area. That spending does not transform the park. It proves to the market that the new owner is investing. You need another $5 million for technology, food service upgrades, signage, and deferred maintenance discovered during due diligence. And you hold $5 million of working capital because the park spends money before the peak season produces cash. Total uses, $140 million. You invest $63 million of equity. A lender provides $77 million of debt. We use an 8.5% interest rate and 15-year amortization as an illustrative financing assumption. That creates annual debt service of roughly $9,270,000. This is not a quoted loan offer for our park. In January 2026, Six Flags issued $1 billion of senior unsecured notes carrying an 8.625% coupon. That transaction shows that capital for a leveraged theme park operator was expensive, but a public company unsecured bond is not directly comparable with a secured single-asset acquisition loan. And now the clock starts. Before you sell one funnel cake, your park must produce more than $9 million each year just to satisfy the scheduled debt payment. That is, after operating expenses. And before growth. The public sees opening day. The owner sees the months before it. Rides are not parked like cars and restarted when summer arrives. Major components are inspected. Wheels, brakes, restraints, sensors, control systems, structural connections, and emergency procedures must be checked and documented. Trains may be disassembled. Parts are ordered from specialized manufacturers. Some components have long lead times. A delayed part can hold an entire attraction closed. The regulatory structure also depends on location. Fixed-site amusement ride oversight in the United States is largely handled by state and local authorities, while the Federal Consumer Product Safety Commission has authority over mobile rides. ASTM publishes industry standards covering design, manufacture, operation, maintenance, and inspection. For an owner, that means compliance is not a single certificate purchased once. It is a system of inspection records, manufacturer requirements, state rules, employee training, documented repairs, incident procedures, and insurance obligations. Then there is labor. Your park may employ a relatively small full-time team in winter and a much larger seasonal workforce when the gates open. Ride operators need training. Food locations need staffing. Security, first aid, cleaning, admissions, games, retail, parking, and entertainment all have to arrive at the same time. If one department is understaffed, the effect spreads. A closed food counter does not merely save payroll. It creates a longer queue at the next counter, lowers transactions per guest, and reduces satisfaction. A shortage of ride operators can leave capacity unused even when the equipment is ready. Six Flags describes labor as a primary operating cost and has warned that higher seasonal wages and difficulty obtaining seasonal workers can affect both margins and the ability to open parts of a park. Then you buy food, merchandise, uniforms, cleaning materials, replacement parts, and fuel. You launch advertising. You sell season passes. That last step matters because pass sales can bring cash into the business before the season reaches its peak. But it creates a future obligation. You have accepted money now in exchange for visits later. A pass holder who visits more often may lower your admissions revenue per visit because the pass price is spread over more attendance. Six Flags explicitly notes that higher pass visitation can reduce admissions per capita. So a season pass is not simply a discounted ticket. It is a bet that repeat visits will generate enough food, beverage, merchandise, parking, or premium spending to compensate for the lower admission value of each visit. Our park expects 1,200,000 visits in the first full year under new ownership. Across 140 operating days, that is an average of about 8,600 visits per day. The average hides the real problem. A quiet weekday may bring 3,000 people. A holiday weekend may bring 18,000. You build and staff for peaks, but you earn across the entire calendar. Let us build the revenue stack: admission and passes. The first stream is admission. Our realized admission revenue averages $34 per visit. That is not the price printed on the website. It is the blended result after season passes, promotions, group sales, complimentary tickets, and full-price single-day purchases. At 1,200,000 visits, that produces $40,800,000. Food and beverage. The second stream is food and beverage. Meals, snacks, bottled drinks, alcohol where permitted, refill products, and premium dining generate an average of $15 per visit. That is $18 million. Food is attractive because the guest is captive geographically, but not economically. A family can decide the price is too high, leave early, bring permitted alternatives, or simply buy less. Product quality and service speed matter. A high theoretical margin means little if the queue moves too slowly to complete transactions. Merchandise, games, and photos. Merchandise, midway games, lockers, photographs, and smaller add-ons generate another $6 per visit. That is $7,200,000. These purchases are not evenly distributed. A small group of guests spends heavily, while many spend almost nothing. Parking and premium access. Parking, premium queue products, reserved seating, and other upgrades generate an average of $8 per visit. That is $9,600,000. Premium access is particularly interesting. You are monetizing scarcity created by your own capacity. The ordinary queue is long because a popular ride can process only a limited number of people each hour. Some guests will pay to reduce that wait. But sell too much premium access and the standard queue becomes slower, satisfaction falls, and the product begins to damage the experience it is supposed to improve. Sponsorships, private events, and other revenue. Corporate events, sponsorships, small licensing arrangements, and other revenue add $4,200,000. Total revenue, $79,800,000. The revenue directly linked to attendance is $63 per visit. If we allocate sponsorships, private events, and other annual revenue across the attendance base, total revenue equals $66.50 per visit. That total sits above the recent Six Flags portfolio average and below the United Parks portfolio average. The comparison is directional only because the public operators own different types of parks and report portfolio-wide results. So the revenue assumption is ambitious enough to require competent operations, but not built around a global destination resort. Now we remove the illusion. Revenue is not owner income. The park generates almost $80 million. First comes labor. Full-time management, engineering, maintenance, finance, human resources, sales, and safety continue beyond the operating season. Seasonal teams expand dramatically when the park opens. We allocate $23 million to payroll taxes, and benefits. Next comes the cost of food, beverage, and merchandise sold. Ingredients, packaging, retail inventory, game prizes, and waste consume $8,500,000. Then, maintenance expense. This is routine operating maintenance. Inspections, lubricants, wheels, sensors, small parts, outside specialists, and repairs that do not qualify as capital projects. $7 million. Utilities, cleaning, security, waste removal, and site operations consume $5,800,000. Marketing and sales consume $5 million. Insurance, compliance, claims administration, and professional services consume $3,500,000. Technology, Property taxes, administration, and other overhead consume $5,250,000. Total operating costs, $58,050,000. That leaves park-level EBITDA of $21,750,000. The EBITDA margin is a little above 27%. That is within the broad range suggested by large public operators, but it is still only an editorial assumption. Six Flags reported adjusted EBITDA equal to roughly 1/4 of 2025 revenue, while United Parks reported a higher portfolio-level margin. Their calculations, asset mixes, and corporate adjustments differ. And EBITDA is where many optimistic acquisition presentations stop. We cannot stop there. The park requires capital expenditures, not just when you want a new coaster, every year. Six Flags states that its properties require continuous maintenance and capital spending. It spent nearly $480 million on capital expenditures in 2025. United Parks spent more than $217 million, with most of that identified as core spending on rides, attractions, and maintenance. Our single park reserves $7,500,000 every year for recurring capital. Some years the number may be lower. Then, a major ride, roof, utility system, or parking project will push it much higher. After that reserve, we have $14,250,000. Now pay the bank. $9,270,000. What remains is approximately $4,980,000 before tax. You invested $63 million of equity. Your modeled pre-tax cash yield is approximately 7.9%. This is the first major reveal. You can own a crowded park, generate nearly $80 million of revenue, report more than $21 million of EBITDA, and still earn a single-digit cash yield on your equity after maintaining the asset and paying the debt. And that is the good year. The best customer is not necessarily the guest who pays the highest admission price today. It may be the local household that visits 4 times, buys food twice, attends the Halloween event, and renews next year. This is why the hidden engine of a regional theme park is the repeat visit system. Season passes do 4 things. First, they bring cash forward. Second, they reduce the psychological cost of returning. Once admission feels prepaid, a family may visit for a shorter period or make a spontaneous trip. Third, they create more opportunities to sell products inside the park. Fourth, they build a database that makes future marketing more efficient. But passes create a balancing problem. Imagine that a pass costs $120. A guest who visits twice represents $60 of pass revenue per visit. A guest who visits 6 times represents $20 per visit. The pass becomes economically attractive only if those extra visits create enough additional spending and do not displace higher-paying single-day customers during capacity-constrained periods. This means you do not manage passes by counting how many were sold. You manage average visits per pass, renewal rate, food and merchandise spending by pass holders, peak day visitation, guest acquisition cost, and the amount of deferred revenue already committed to future visits. Your event calendar makes this system work. Summer alone is not enough. A Halloween event gives the guest a new reason to return. A holiday event extends the operating season. Concerts, food festivals, and family events create different demand without requiring a new roller coaster every month. In late 2025, Six Flags said that canceling winter holiday events at 4 parks contributed to the loss of approximately 425,000 visits in the fourth quarter. It also linked a smaller, active season pass base to lower attendance. That is, the calendar appearing directly in the income statement. A ride is expensive and permanent. An event is more flexible. But an event still needs labor, entertainment, decorations, food capacity, and marketing. If attendance does not appear, much of the cost is already committed. The owner's real skill is not building one spectacular attraction. It is creating enough reasons to visit that the same physical park earns revenue across more days and more occasions. A hotel can sell tonight's room only tonight. An airline can sell today's seat only before departure. A theme park has the same problem. Ride capacity, restaurant capacity, and operating hours cannot be stored for tomorrow. Suppose the flagship coaster carries 24 riders per train, operates 2 trains, and dispatches every 90 seconds. In perfect conditions, the theoretical capacity is 960 riders per hour. But perfect conditions do not exist. Guests load slowly. A restraint must be rechecked. A train pauses. A sensor stops the ride. Weather interrupts operations. Staffing changes. At 80% of theoretical capacity, the ride processes about 770 guests per hour. Across 10 hours, fewer than 8,000 rides are available. If 18,000 people enter the park, most guests cannot ride the flagship coaster even once. This is why throughput matters more than spectacle alone. A new attraction may increase demand, but if parking, security, food, and pathway capacity do not expand, the park becomes less pleasant precisely when it becomes more popular. Queues influence spending in complicated ways. Some waiting increases the perceived value of a popular attraction and supports premium access sales. Too much waiting reduces the time available for food, games, and retail. It can also shorten the visit or damage return intent. Capacity is also a maintenance problem. If the ride is technically open but runs 1 train instead of 2, the park has lost capacity without closing the attraction. If a restaurant has 6 registers but only 4 employees, the physical asset exists while economic capacity disappears. If the parking entrance backs up onto the road, the park loses guest time before the first purchase. This is why owner dashboards must go beyond total attendance. You track rides per guest, dispatch times, downtime, queue abandonment, food transactions per labor hour, mobile order completion, spending by hour, and satisfaction by crowd level. A park is not profitable because many people are present. It is profitable when the park can serve those people reliably before their time and patience run out. Now we reach the risk you cannot fully control. Weather. A bad Tuesday hurts. A bad holiday weekend can alter the year. Regional parks concentrate a large share of attendance into a limited number of peak days. Continuous rain, extreme heat, storms, wildfire smoke, or even an unfavorable forecast can change travel plans before the park knows weather conditions will actually become dangerous. Six Flags states that most of its attractions are outdoors and that bad or extreme weather can reduce attendance and revenue. It also reported that weather negatively affected attendance during 2025. The financial asymmetry is severe. Revenue can disappear quickly. Costs do not. Full-time employees, maintenance, insurance, advertising, utilities, and debt remain. Six Flags explicitly identifies many of these expenses as relatively fixed. Imagine that your park expected 18,000 visitors on a Saturday. 2 days before opening, the forecast shows thunderstorms. Only 9,000 arrive. You can reduce some hourly labor and food preparation, but you cannot recover the entire cost. The marketing spend has already happened. The maintenance team still prepared the rides. The debt payment did not change. And there is a second effect. Weather can damage assets. Wind, flooding, heat, and lightning can create inspections, repairs, and closure time. Insurance may cover part of a major loss, but it may not cover every interruption, deductible, or future premium increase. A diversified chain can spread weather risk across different states. You own one park. Your entire earnings year sits under one sky. There is no single formula for a successful theme park, but one operating pattern appears repeatedly. Build a strong regional identity. Give guests reasons to return. Reinvest before the asset feels tired. Extend the destination beyond a single ride. Dollywood is a useful strategic example. Because its operator is private, we do not have park-level profitability. So this is not proof of a particular margin or owner return. It is evidence of a growth and reinvestment pattern. Dollywood described 2025 as another record-breaking attendance season. For 2026, it prepared a new attraction costing more than $50 million, the largest attraction investment in its history, while also using festivals, season passes, and resort assets to create multiple reasons to visit. The important lesson is not that every regional park should spend $50 million on one attraction. The lesson is that a durable park does not harvest the same ride package forever. Reinvestment protects relevance. Events extend the calendar. Hotels and resort products can capture spending that would otherwise leave the property. A recognizable local identity reduces dependence on generic thrill rides that competitors can copy. Herschend, Dollywood's operator, expanded further in 2025 by completing the acquisition of 24 American attractions. After the transaction, the company said it operated 49 properties serving nearly 20 million guests annually. Scale gives an operator purchasing power, centralized expertise, cross-property marketing, and diversified weather exposure. But the core operating lesson still applies to our single park. The customer must believe the park is alive. Deferred maintenance communicates decline. A weak calendar reduces repeat visits. A new ride that opens late wastes the marketing window. The owner who treats capital spending as optional eventually turns guest disappointment into financial deterioration. Dollywood illustrates capital being layered onto proven demand. Now we look at the opposite problem. Committing the capital before demand has ever been proven. The most dangerous theme park is not necessarily an old park. It can be a new park built on an incorrect demand forecast. Hard Rock Park is the clearest version of that opposite model. It opened in Myrtle Beach in 2008. It was a major new project with a reported cost of roughly $400 million. The concept looked marketable. The location already attracted tourists. The park had large rides, licensed music branding, and national attention. But the operating reality was catastrophic. A federal court opinion later stated that fewer than 400,000 visitors attended during the park's short 2008 operating period. The park entered bankruptcy, and a bankruptcy judge authorized its sale for $25 million. $400 million of development became a $25 million transaction. The failure was not caused by one broken roller coaster. The park did not attract enough people to support the capital structure. That is the risk of greenfield development. You can build exactly what the feasibility model describes and still discover that tourists do not add another expensive day to their trip, local residents do not return often enough, marketing costs more than expected, or the opening occurs during an economic shock. A new park also has no inherited pass base, no historical attendance by zip code, no established annual tradition, no proof that the market will accept the price. And because construction capital is committed before demand is observed, the error can be enormous. This is why a theme park can fail while the physical equipment still looks impressive. Steel has resale value. Land has value. But specialized buildings, theming, and infrastructure rarely recover their full development cost in liquidation. Hard Rock Park is the extreme version of the owner's central risk. The model can be wrong before opening day. Our park owns its land. That matters. Owned land gives you expansion capacity, collateral, and a possible redevelopment exit if operations fail. In 2025, Six Flags announced that it would close Six Flags America after the season and market its approximately 500-acre property for redevelopment. In April 2026, the company announced a purchase agreement for that real estate, subject to buyer diligence and other closing conditions. That is a reminder that the land beneath the park may eventually be worth more in another use. But land is not automatic protection. A theme park site may have unusual zoning, environmental issues, old infrastructure, demolition costs, and limited alternative access. The most valuable operating acreage may not be the most valuable development acreage. The owner must separate two theses. The operating thesis says families will visit and spend. The real estate thesis says the land can be sold or redeveloped at an attractive value. If the operating thesis fails, the real estate thesis may reduce the loss. It does not guarantee that equity survives. Hard Rock Park demonstrated how quickly specialized development value can disappear. So the land is a hidden asset, but it is not permission to ignore the park. Before we break the model, freeze the good year. 1,200,000 visits produce $79,800,000 of revenue. After $58,050,000 of operating costs, park-level EBITDA is $21,750,000. After $7,500,000 of recurring capital and $9,270,000 of debt service, approximately $4,980,000 remains before tax. That is a 7.9% cash return on $63 million of equity. Principal repayment may add value over time, and the business or land may appreciate, but neither is cash available to distribute today. This is an acceptable base case, not an extraordinary return. It assumes the park opens on schedule, the attraction refresh works, the pass base holds, food locations are staffed, and no major incident disrupts the season. $5 million of annual cash sounds comfortable until we ask how little has to go wrong before it disappears. Now we measure the margin of safety. The first stress test is a demand miss. Attendance falls 12% from 1,200,000 visits to 1,056,000. Maybe consumer confidence weakens. Maybe a competitor opens a new attraction. Maybe season pass sales disappoint. Maybe the weather damages several peak weekends. The remaining guests also spend slightly less because the weaker season changes the ticket mix and reduces premium purchases. Visit-linked revenue falls to approximately $64,940,000. Sponsorships, private events, and other revenue fall to approximately $3,760,000. Total revenue becomes $68,700,000, more than $11 million below the base case. Some variable costs decline. You schedule fewer seasonal hours. You buy less food and merchandise. Credit card fees and product costs fall. But most of the cost base does not move with attendance. Full-time labor, much of maintenance, insurance, marketing, utilities, property taxes, and debt remain. Operating costs fall by only $3,350,000, from $58,050,000 to $54,700,000. EBITDA, therefore, falls to $14 million. You reduce recurring capital modestly to $6,500,000, but you cannot eliminate it without transferring today's problem into next season. Debt service remains $9,270,000. $14 million of EBITDA minus $6,500,000 of recurring capital minus $9,270,000 of debt service leaves a cash deficit of approximately $1,770,000. The park is still open. It may still look busy on Saturdays. It still reports positive EBITDA, but the owner must contribute cash. That is what a fixed-cost business does. A 12% attendance miss creates a revenue decline of almost 14%, an EBITDA decline of more than 1/3, and the complete loss of the equity distribution. The second stress test is operational. Your flagship coaster develops a major control system and mechanical problem shortly after opening. The ride is unavailable for 8 weeks. You already spent the advertising budget built around it. Guests arrive and find the headline attraction closed. Some postpone visits. Others enter but leave less satisfied. Premium access sales weaken. Guest relations costs rise. Annual attendance falls 5% from 1,200,000 visits to 1,140,000. Revenue falls to approximately $74,200,000. The repair response costs $5 million in total, but the accounting treatment matters. $1 million is specialist labor, diagnostics, temporary engineering support, and other operating expense. It reduces EBITDA. $4 million is a capitalized control system replacement and mechanical upgrade. It is paid below EBITDA as emergency capital. After lower variable costs and the additional $1 million of specialist operating expense, total operating costs are approximately $55,700,000. EBITDA falls to approximately $18,500,000. Normal recurring capital still requires approximately $7 million. The emergency capital project adds another $4 million. Debt service remains $9,270,000. $18,500,000 of EBITDA minus $11 million of total capital spending minus $9,270,000 of debt service leaves a cash deficit of approximately $1,770,000. Again, the park reports positive EBITDA while the owner writes a check. This is why maintenance history and spare parts availability belong in acquisition due diligence. You are not buying only the ride. You are buying its remaining service life, manufacturer support, inspection history, control system, parts inventory, and the competence of the team maintaining it. A visually impressive coaster with obsolete components can be a liability disguised as an attraction. These failures are not completely random surprises. Many of their warning signs should appear before closing. Buying the existing park means paying for proven demand while inheriting old machinery. Building from zero means replacing part of the maintenance risk with construction risk and unproven demand. Model A. Buy the established regional park. The acquisition requires $140 million, including the purchase, refresh, and working capital. The park already has demand history. It already has employees, permits, access roads, utilities, customer data, and a season pass base. You can inspect historical maintenance records and attendance patterns. You can improve operations incrementally. The drawback is that you inherit old infrastructure, local expectations, and deferred maintenance that may not appear until after closing. The base case cash return is not spectacular, but the investment can work if the purchase price is disciplined, the debt is manageable, and the park has a credible repeat visit engine. Model B. Build a new branded destination park. Now imagine building from zero. Our editorial greenfield model assumes a total project cost of $650 million. That includes land, roads, parking, utilities, rides, buildings, food and retail locations, design, pre-opening payroll, marketing, and contingency. The number is illustrative, not a universal construction estimate, but consider the evidence around it. Hard Rock Park cost roughly $400 million in 2008. A single major Dollywood attraction announced for 2026 costs more than $50 million. A complete modern destination park can consume capital very quickly. Our greenfield base case needs 3 million annual visits and approximately $220 million of revenue. At a 30% margin, EBITDA is $66 million. Operating costs are therefore $154 million. The project reserves $20 million for annual capital. With $260 million of debt at 8.5% amortized over 20 years, annual debt service is approximately $27,500,000. Cash after recurring capital and debt is roughly $18,500,000. That sounds larger than the acquisition model, but the equity investment is $390 million. The pre-tax cash yield is approximately 4.7%, and that is after reaching 3 million visits. Now, miss the attendance plan. At 2 million visits, our illustrative revenue falls to approximately $150 million. Because the property is already built, operating costs fall much more slowly, to approximately $132 million. EBITDA collapses to $18 million. You reduce annual capital to $18 million, but debt service remains $27,500,000. The park consumes approximately $27,500,000 of cash before tax, a 1/3. Attendance miss does not merely reduce the return. It requires another equity check after hundreds of millions of dollars have already been committed. The project also spends several years under construction with no operating revenue and carries cost overrun and opening delay risk. The greenfield model becomes rational only when you possess advantages our independent investor does not have. A globally recognized intellectual property portfolio, hotels and real estate that capture overnight spending, a travel distribution network, large-scale development capability, a balance sheet able to absorb delays, and enough adjacent attractions to make the destination worth a multi-day trip. Without those advantages, building a new destination park is not simply a larger version of buying a regional park. It is a different business. The two stress tests are not merely bad luck stories. Demand concentration, deferred maintenance, obsolete controls, and weak spare parts support leave evidence before closing. Before signing the purchase agreement, I would want answers to 7 questions. First, what portion of attendance comes from pass holders, and how often do they visit? Second, how much in-park spending comes from food, premium access, games, and retail, and which locations are capacity constrained? Third, what capital has been deferred? Not the seller's planned budget, the engineering reality. Fourth, what is the downtime history of every major ride, and how quickly can critical parts be sourced? Fifth, how concentrated is attendance by weather, weekend, and school calendar? Sixth, what does the land support if the park underperforms? And seventh, how much debt can the park carry after a bad year, not only after the base year? The wrong buyer asks how much revenue the park produced last year. The right buyer asks how much cash remains after maintaining the asset through a bad year. So, should you own a theme park? If your plan is to buy an established regional park at a disciplined price, own the land, retain the operating team, protect maintenance spending, and build a strong repeat visit calendar, the answer can be yes. But this is not passive real estate. It is not a collection of machines that prints tickets. And the obvious product, the roller coaster, is not the complete profit engine. The real business is converting a local population into recurring demand, then serving that demand efficiently every hour the park is open. The season pass creates the second visit. The event calendar creates another reason to return. Food, merchandise, and premium products convert time on property into revenue. Maintenance protects capacity. Capital spending protects relevance. And the land protects only part of the downside. Our modeled park produces nearly $80 million of revenue and more than $21 million of EBITDA. After recurring capital and debt, the owner receives about $5 million in the good year. A 12% attendance miss turns that distribution into an equity contribution. A major ride failure can do the same thing. So the real question is not whether people love theme parks. They do. The question is whether you can buy demand, machinery, land, and risk at a price that still works when the perfect summer never arrives. Because when you own the park, every scream sounds like revenue. But every silent ride sounds like debt.